Hi, I'm Cindy Bertram. Thanks for joining me today on Good Ship Happens. We've got a lot of fun, interesting news coming up just in this past week. A new ship coming out, and also, actually, just a couple new ships coming out too. And a new cruise line, of course, starting this summer, Explorer Journeys. They're doing some wonderful things. I'll be sharing more about that later on. As far as their culinary expertise, what they're offering to it's great. I'm really excited about Explorer Journeys. They're high-end luxury, and they're focusing on bringing ocean life to sea, or ocean life to sea, which is great too. But once again, something else that came up this week too is Oceania Cruises, which is a very, very luxury cruise line brand, has a new class of ships coming out, and their Oceania Vista is going to be coming out, and she's just going to be handling 1,200 guests. So she's the first class in their this style of ship. They've got 5 ships coming out, of course, too, but this is the first one, and this is their first new ship in a decade, which is great. And what they do is they just announced the godmother of the ship, and she's actually well known as far as the culinary industry too. Gada de Laurentiis is actually going to be godmother of their first Allura class ship, the Vista, which is great. And she's actually appeared in the Food Network on various shows for the past 20 years. She's an Italian-American chef and the author of several cookbooks, including Everyday Italian, which is a New York Times bestseller. And she actually owns 2 restaurants in Las Vegas. So it's really, really a big moment for her, too, being named as the godmother. Also, she just announced in February she's going to be leaving the Food Network, but she's going to be actually signing a deal to produce and potentially star in some unscripted projects for Amazon Studios, which is great too. But that's really kind of fun when we think about godmothers. They pick different people to be godmothers of ships, but to have a well-known Italian chef, very well-known, amazing person. And she really kind of leads on with what Oceania Cruises have been doing for a while. They're really culinary-focused cruise line. They really are. And like I said, she will be fulfilling the maritime honor of christening the ship during its May 6th round-trip christening voyage from Rome, where she was actually born. And she will create 2 signature dishes to be served on the Vista too, which is great. One will be served in their Italian specialty restaurant, Toscana, and the other will be actually offered in the grand dining room. And what dishes she's dreaming up have still been left. They're not mentioning it yet too, but they will mention it later on. The Vista will have actually 12 different dining options, including 4 new spaces. And the brand's going to introduce their Aquamar Kitchen, which they're describing as a wellness-inspired dishes with a hint of indulgence, and along with the bakery at Veristitas, which is serving fresh pastries, and Ember, a new signature restaurant, which is going to be offering authentic, rich American dining experiences with inspiration from different culinary capitals, including Napa and Sonoma in California. And she will have 8 different bars, lounges, and entertainment venues. And once again, with Oceania, they're also going to be unveiling a new mixology program too. And it's kind of interesting that it's not uncommon for Oceania to name a chef as their godmother. When their last ship came out, the Oceania Riviera in 2012, the line named Kat Cora to christen the ship. And she was the only woman icon chef in the Food Network's Iron Chef America. And she's also founder of Chefs of Humanity, which she launched in response to the 2004 tsunami that hit Indonesia so badly too. So once again, the new Vista will accommodate just 1,200 guests. She's the first class in their new class of ships, and it's the first new ship they've had in a decade. But this is really exciting to have a really phenomenal, well-known, famous chef as their godmother. So it was kind of some exciting news too, because once again, people ask me sometimes as far as what do you enjoy about going on a cruise? Well, the culinary option is one, definitely. I mean, they have different avenues as far as dining experiences, but a lot of times cruise lines do partner with chefs. That does come up. Another really fantastic chef I've gotten to know over the years is Rudy Sadaman, and he's great. He has his Salomar on a couple different ships, including one on the new Carnival Celebration ship, which just debuted last November, and I was there, which is great. But once again, we think about different options as far as dining, and once again, you have a lot of different choices, which is really fun. And I know Oceania Cruises has always been known for their culinary focus too, which is great. Something else that just came up this week too is with Princess Cruises. They just did a partnership with Exponential Fitness, and they're going to be launching their different types of experiences on Princess Cruises. They just announced it on February 23rd. So Exponential Fitness is actually the largest global franchisor of boutique fitness brands. And what they're doing is they're going to have 3 of their brands actually debut on board Princess Cruises. They've got the Pure Barre Yoga 6 and Stretch Lab fitness classes that are available to guests on board, which is great. And they're going to have some other experiences too. But once again, these are boutique fitness experiences for people to actually enjoy and be able to use on board the Princess Cruises ships, which is really, really fun. And with that Pure Barre, it's actually a signature full body workout for 30 minutes. Guests can actually be guided through a series of low impact and high intensity movements, and also another way to improve their flexibility by strengthening and toning the body, which is great. That just came out this week. So once again, if you think about options out there, yes, you can go to the gym, work out on the gym if you want to, but this is just another dimension, I think, which is really, really great and so exciting. Another thing that they're doing too is with this, guests can try the Yoga 6 on board a Princess Cruise, and with this, they'll expect a 30-minute full body yoga flow experience. So another good way to actually use yoga, and once again, it's just another wonderful option. And as mentioned, exponential fitness classes are now available across the fleet of the 15 Princess Cruise Line ships, and they sail in the Caribbean, Mexico, Europe, Mediterranean, and Australia, with other destinations too. So once again, definitely check out Exponential Fitness. As mentioned, I have 3 of their brands on board the ships, but they have 10 total. But once again, it's another really kind of exciting way to enjoy fitness when you're taking a cruise, because once again, it's just a great way to really expand different things too. And something else that came up is we have Carnival Cruise Line actually took over some ships from Costa Cruises, which is one of their sister brands, but the Carnival Firenze is going to be joining their fleet in 2024. She's going to be sailing year-round from Long Beach, which is really good. And she'll start sailing, I mentioned, from Long Beach, California. She's going to be offering a variety of different ships, cruising year-round with sailings for popular destinations in Baja, California, the Mexican Riviera, and also different itineraries too. But once again, it's another way to really expand their presence in California. And once again, the Carnival Firenze is going to be offering a great option for guests who maybe want to sail from year-round from Long Beach, California too. And they just are going to be sharing more about that too, what they're doing. Okay, because what they're doing is she's actually going to be debuting, joining the fleet and featuring their fun experience, which is great. And once again, just more of that I'll be sharing more of too later on. And something else too, is we've talked about this before, but as far as the length of a cruise, people ask me, what's the best length of a cruise? How long can you cruise for? Well, you can pick and choose. In my case, I like, usually I love 8-night cruises. I've done 10-night cruises too, which are great. But once again, some that just got released by Cunard Line, they've got their new ship, the Queen Anne, which is going to be setting sail and debuting in 2025. Cunard Line, of course, is a very luxury cruise line. And the new Queen Anne is going to actually sail on a world cruise in 2025. Yes. How long is a cruise? if you want to sail this on this cruise, it's going to be a 107-night round trip cruise. Yes, 107 nights, which is really kind of fun. I can't afford to be gone that long, but it sounds great. And it's going to be actually departing from Southampton, England on a 107-night cruise. And she will actually be doing some overnight calls, including stops in Honolulu, Sydney, Hong Kong, and Dubai. And then after crossing the Atlantic, the Queen Anne is going to spend 17 nights sailing from New York to San Francisco. She'll be visiting Aruba and then does that before she transitions and goes through the Panama Canal. The ship will also visit Guatemala and also Cabo San Lucas during her New York and San Francisco portion. So once again, it's just kind of think about if you had the time to do a 107-night cruise, that's fine. Once again, with Cunard Line there, luxury, and the Queen Anne is going to be accommodating just 3,000 guests, and she's scheduled to enter service in May of 2024. So that's really kind of fun to think about too. And then, like I mentioned, her world cruise will actually start in 2025. Okay, on actually June 9th of 2025. So keep that in mind too. Something else that Cunard Line just mentioned too, they just released it, was they've got some new entertainment programs going on too, which is great. People always ask me, well, what can you do on a cruise as far as entertainment? There are shows and productions on board. You've got different clubs, you've got music, different entertainers. It's really, really fun. And what Cunard Line just mentioned last week was they're launching a new entertainment program. It's going to include a murder mystery dinner, a flash mob, and a one-man play, as well as music and dance. But it's kind of fun when you think about how they're going to be having a murder mystery dinner. That sounds kind of fun, doesn't it? And another way to kind of explore different things, but have fun with it too. Because once again, there's so many options you can actually on board a cruise ship too. And with the Cunard, they're showcasing this program, and it's going to appear on selected voyages in 2023, this year, as well as 2024. And it seems like the passengers will really be immersed in the ships because they become the stage, and performances will be more intimate and delivered in unexpected locations too, which is great. So once again, passengers and guests will be able to have a chance to see what goes on behind the scenes, as well as conversations with events and workshops with the stage and screen talent, which is great too. And they've got different things they're doing. I know that they've got this new Cluedo interactive game that's taking place in the Queen Elizabeth's March 7th to 16th, 2023 sailing, which is actually going to be happening this next week. And the theater performance production actually comprises a guest company, a jazz swing quartet, also the Royal Court Theater cast, and an opulent soiree of seeing wine and secrets flowing freely as the murder mystery unfolds. And then once again, during the ship's September 18th to the 27th, 2023 voyage this fall, rising star Ali Nutt and the Cunard Line's in-house pianist will actually be offering an intimate evening of songs and stories celebrating the work of composer Stephen Sondheim's An Evening with Sondheim, which is great too. So you've got different things that going on as far as entertainment on board cruise ships too, and keep that in mind too, because once again, it depends on what you want to see and watch, but once again, look at different options out there too, because it's really fun. You don't think about a murder mystery taking place on a cruise ship, of course, it's just a murder mystery, of course, entertainment option too for people to enjoy too. But definitely keep that in mind, because that seems like a fun twist to think about enjoying too. Something else that has come up too is, as mentioned, cruise lines help out in different ways to give back, also help out. And as I mentioned last week, MSC Group, which is owns MSC Cruises. They have their MSC Foundation, their nonprofit. They also have their Mediterranean shipping, container shipping company too, and also they have their foundation, which is great. What they did was when the earthquakes hit so bad in Turkey overseas, it was so sad. And what they did was the MSC Foundation actually launched a global fundraising campaign to support reconstruction projects in the earthquake areas that were devastating Turkey and Syria. And the MSC Foundation is actually matching every donation to double the impact. And you can check into it online too. Also, what they did too was they actually, just on the 16th of February, last week, MSC Aurelia, one of their ships, actually expanded one of their areas of efforts to help out. Because what they did was the MSC Aurelia, their ship actually departed from Naples to go to Turkey, and what they do is they included cargo that included 60 pallets of medical supplies, food, hygiene items, warm clothing, blankets, and children's toys that were collected with different partnerships. And once again, they were actually donating those to get those overseas too. And what they did too is they're helping out in different ways too. And I know that they mentioned that the MSC Marilla is going to be staying in Turkey, and they will be able to house people as needed on board their ship. But that's just another wonderful way that cruise lines give back. And just one example. Something else that comes up too is we think about protecting the oceans in different ways, but something that just came up is MSC Cruises is actually the latest cruise line to partner with the Marine Conservation charity called Orca. And Orca Conservation Charity actually is looking at different ways to really look out and keep whales, porpoises, and dolphins safe. Okay, and what they're doing is MSC Cruises is the newest cruise line to partner with this charity Orca, and they're also introducing a special deck officer training program to minimize any kind of collisions that would happen with whales, dolphins, and porpoises. And cruise lines are really, really proactive about doing that too. And like I said, MSC Cruises is the newest one to actually work with Orca. Also, Ambassador Cruise Line and Fred Olsen Cruise Lines are also the other cruise lines that have already been teaming up with Orca. And as mentioned, the bridge officers who actually work on board the MSC Bellissima are actually the first to participate in this online training program at MSC Cruises. And this ship is actually currently sailing in the Mediterranean from its home port of Geneva, Italy, and was chosen to be the pilot vessel based on this navigation through the sanctuary. And once again, it's a way to really make sure they're being very proactive to make sure that they do protect the seas for future generations too. And supporting the health of the oceans and partnering with training is a good step forward too. And people need to know about this too, because it's once again, we need to protect the marine life too. When you think about porpoises and whales and different things like that too, this is another way to really make sure that they're protected. And once again, this is a wonderful organization, Orca, and it's, as mentioned, it's their conservation charity, Orca. And MSC Cruises, as mentioned, is the latest cruise line that's actually partnered with them as far as finding different ways as far as protecting the marine life too. And that's, I think, just a very, very positive thing too. Mark, did you have any questions for me right now or not? Before I go into anything else?
No, I'm just interested in finding out all these fascinating things going on with the trip and all of that and the cruises. And we know the cruise industry is coming back big time and all in that space. And of course, I do have some friends that are thinking about maybe even being entertainers on cruise ships. So I was wondering, do they have like auditions for the cruise ships, and are they held like at a certain time, or what happens in that space?
Okay, I think they do. I actually had known somebody a long time ago who worked on a cruise ship and entertainment. I don't know what he did as far as his protocols, but once again, he actually worked on Royal Caribbean entertaining too, which is great. He's a very, very talented dancer, singer, And once again, I think they probably have to go through, I think, different kind of auditions first. It might not be on the ships themselves, but I think they have to go through different auditions too. Because once again, as mentioned, there's so many different entertainment options going on board cruise ships. For instance, I mentioned with Royal Caribbean, when I sailed, of course, on the Allure Seas last year myself, they've got this beautiful, beautiful, it's like a water park type thing. What they do is at nighttime, they have different aerial shows and beautiful. And they actually are, it's really in the back of the ship. They've got this water area, we've got water shows there. And then during the day, which is really fun, is they've got also a big screen and you can watch movies, which is beautiful. So did you have a question about that, Mark, or? I can't hear you. Okay. But I think you'd have to go through auditions first. But once again, they got so many different options as far as entertainment positions. They use musicians, of course, and of course, people that are in there that dance in the shows. That's another avenue. In this case, they've got aerialists that actually do that too. And
yeah, because one of the things that I've noticed is they have, like, when the one cruise I went, they had the dueling pianos, they had the full shows, they had a bunch of other stuff.
oh yes, and even like I said, productions. They've got Broadway productions on board their ships. It's really fun. That's a whole talent within itself. And so I think they do different types of auditions depending on the types of entertainment they're going to be doing on the ships. And because there's so many options out there for entertainment too. Because once again, years ago, it's kind of funny because there's a really, really fantastic, amazing person. Bill Panoff actually was an entertainer on a cruise ship. He launched PPI Group, which is his wonderful, wonderful, wonderful media publications. Fantastic person. But once again, years ago, when he took cruises, when the cruise ships were really small, you might have some small entertainers. You didn't necessarily see Broadway productions, multi-different type productions too. But once again, it's really changed so much on board the ships too. So once again, as far as the options, you've got a chance to actually watch beautiful productions that are almost like Broadway productions. Also, different areas. One thing that came up too is a couple cruise lines did have ice skating rinks, and sometimes they did ice skating shows too, which is really great. Once again, you've got a choice as far as different bars and clubs, different musicians, smaller bands, which is really, really fantastic to think about too. And just different options to really explore when you are taking a cruise ship for a vacation, because you've got a lot of choices out there too. Another thing too is you'll see cruise lines that might have racetracks on board too. That's kind of fun too, depending. And just beautiful as far as how they divide up the areas as far as the neighborhoods too. And the entertainment could vary so much with the cruise line. Something else they do sometimes too is like they have like interactive cooking classes too, which is really fun.
Yeah, you talk about the interactive, because I know that they also have trivia contests. You mentioned the one with the
Captain Kate, yes.
We oftentimes talk about Captain Kate and everything, but then they have other trivia shows. I know that there was a gospel trivia one that I've advertised as well. But how popular are those trivia shows on the cruises as well? I imagine they'd be quite popular. And sometimes you may be coming with your group of the people that you come with, whether it's a family member or whatever. But I'm also imagining that sometimes there are random people, and that might be how they actually get to meet each other. I'm thinking like on those single cruises, they might do random trivia, mix-ups, for lack of a better term.
Well, the fun thing is when you go on board a cruise ship, when you do things like that, activities, you got to get to meet new people, which is really, really fun. And that's part I think of too, because that's how you make new friends. I mean, I did that myself too. When you sit at different dining options too, you make friends that way too. That's how I got to meet a couple of friends myself too over the years. But once again, with the trivia, depending when they run the trivia contest, it could be during the day when you're at sea, or it could be another time in the evening. Once again, you can actually interact with people too. If you have fun, that's good too. But once again, it's a new way to meet new people too.
Yeah, that sounds like real fun. So it'd be interesting to see how it plays out with those trivias and all in that space. What
Yeah.
cruises is Cindy getting ready to go on? Because I'm thinking that Cindy's about ready for a cruise herself. So what cruise are you going on, or what cruise is on the
Well,
Cindy wish list?
okay, on my wish list. No, honestly, one thing that's come up so big is people going to Antarctica. That is really, really fascinating. I really can't swing that right now, but that is really, really a hot button now more than ever. Because I think, when we went through the pandemic, unlike going through 9/11, where they didn't want to go anywhere, they were scared to death. Okay, and they bought stuff. I mean, in my case, I'm sorry, but I don't buy stuff. I'd rather go places and experience things. And I think when we went through this pandemic during coronavirus, I think people just got so upset about being working by themselves, whatever, being forced to be inside, whatever. And I think people are really thinking about other options, about seeing the world in different ways. And also, I think the culture, but also just seeing some beautiful places. And honestly, there are some cruise lines, the luxury ones have these Antarctica cruises too. They're very expensive, but once again, that sounds really beautiful. Another place my parents went to several times is they actually did a cruise in Tahiti, and they loved it. They absolutely loved it. I mean, they went there several times on cruises, and it just seemed like it was a wonderful experience for them too. But once again, it goes back to different things you want to see and do too. Even as far as river cruise lines over in Europe, I've not had a chance to do one. I need to. But once again, with the river cruise over in Europe, the one thing that's a plus factor too, I'm not saying anything bad about if you want to just go to Europe, but with a river cruise line, what they do is the ship is your hotel. So you get on board, okay, and they take you to different places. And for instance, a good thing I mentioned too before was AMA Waterways. They have bicycles that people can use for free when they get off the ship to bike around if they want to, you know. But once again, it's a good way to see different places that are beautiful. Once again, it's not like you have to unpack, repack, unpack, repack, because the river cruise line ship takes you all these beautiful places. Plus, what they do is they usually fly you in the day before, stay a day afterwards too, which is great. So it's another option. And one thing that's come back too is now we're seeing some cruise lines once again return as far as doing cruises in Egypt on the Nile. As far as
That
my
sounds like that
next
can be
cruise,
fascinating. How much are there cruises that are geared toward, I'm getting up there in age, not as much as, and hopefully I'll get even further because dad is 82 and mom
oh wow,
is 80. But how much are there cruises that are out and designated for those that are senior citizens? And are there senior citizen discounts? And are they doing things to accommodate those that are older, whether it's games that might be more older oriented or whether it's diets that are more geared toward the elderly as well? So, how are the cruise industry doing, in your opinion, in its appeal to those that are the seniors of our society?
I think it goes back to when you think about the cruise lines that you want to sail on too, it gives you different choices. Because if you want to go on a big ship, go on a big ship. You go on a smaller ship, that's fine too. And once again, it goes back to, one thing that I know cruise lines have done too is usually with the shore excursions, they might have the activity level. They'll know in advance how active this shore excursion might be. So you can kind of pick and choose. For instance, if you don't want to walk a lot of miles, don't pick something like that. They actually kind of gear them that way too. So you can actually pick and choose what you want to do as far as the activity level too, which is great. And something else too is cruise lines do have handicapped staterooms on board their ships. Okay. And you actually get those. They don't have as many, of course, too, but that's one thing that my parents did when my mother lost her right leg to heel cancer and they started taking cruises instead of traveling. But they were able to get a handicapped stateroom for my mom just so she got the handicapped accessible bathroom, which is really important. But they've got those two. Once again, it just kind of depends on, like I said, ships are getting kind of big. Although in the case of, as I mentioned with Oceana Cruises, she's not going to be accommodating a lot of guests. That's a little smaller. But once again, with Royal Caribbean's Icon Seas, that's going to accommodate what 6,000-7,000 people. That's almost like a city at sea. Okay, and Although you got different activities, if you don't want to have to worry about walking that far distance too, then maybe thinking about a different type of cruise line or a smaller ship out there.
One of the other things I was curious about, and as I recall, when the cruise that I went on, they had some, but how, and I've seen some on some of the ads we've run, but how, and you talk about many cities, how extensive are the gyms in the cruises? Because I think that I've heard of some cruises that almost have like NBA or at least school style basketball courts on them, as well as some other kind of things in that space as well. So let's just say that you are an exercise oriented person and you go on a cruise. What are the opportunities to get that exercise? Or if you, on the opposite side, want to get into the gaming world and augmented reality, because some people will be like, why do I need to go on a boat? I can have the boat come to me in these augmented reality fantasy things. But I know you like the real version versus the augmented or virtual version.
Yes. But the thing is, what's really good too is you can pick your own pace too. Because one thing I used to do a long time ago was they have the up areas that kind of surround the pool, kind of further up, but you actually kind of walk around to get your miles in if you wanted to. Okay. But other things too is, on Royal Caribbean and Royal Caribbean, they actually had different areas. They had a little golf place to golf if you wanted to outside. They had a place to play basketball, different things like that. So you can kind of pick and choose. It was in one area on one areas of the ships too, which is great. So you can kind of pick and choose. And once again, they have gyms on board, and they usually have yoga classes. As I mentioned, Princess Cruises just announced that one partnership they're doing with that company, and they just introduced it on their 15 ships, which is great. So that's, I think, kind of fun too to think about, And of course, you've got pools, on board. If you like to swim, I like to swim. And of course, when you get off the ship, if you want, you take a shore excursion and go to the beach and do some swimming that way too. So you've got different choices. It kind of you pick and choose what you want as far as the activity level. And also, if you feel safer on swimming on a cruise ship and their pools, that's fine. It just kind of depends on what you really want to do too.
That makes a lot of sense. Really quick, I'm going to bounce off and let you complete the show, and I'll let her do some more conversations, but I'll pop back in a second. But what are some of the interesting animals that you have seen on the cruise as well? Because I know the one time I went, I definitely saw, I think it was like a salamander or something at one of the stops, and I definitely saw, of course, the whales and the dolphins and stuff like that. But what are some of the animals that you ran across?
Oh, I think, I went to Alaska the first night, I saw whales. And that was just phenomenal. Okay. Because the thing is, I got on the ship, went with a friend, and we changed different times for dinner. But I was in this beautiful area in the front of the ship. It was enclosed, but it was like 2 or 3 levels, big window walls. And we're just relaxing there in the front of the ship in the chairs, just kind of relaxing. It's beautiful. And all of a sudden, I see everybody go to the one side of the ship. That when they saw whales we saw whales the first night. That was really, really fun to do. And then of course salmon, because we went to different areas, you could see the salmon kind of swimming around. That was actually at one of the port areas too. That was kind of fun. And then just kind of depends, on the wildlife too.
Sounds good. I might have some more questions in a second, but I'll let you get to some of the more cruise news. But I'll be back very shortly and might have some other thoughts, and who knows, maybe even a commercial or two.
Okay, great. The one thing that comes up too is as far as taking a cruise. If you've ever thought about maybe taking a cruise by yourself, as far as a solo cruiser, you can do that too. And once again, it just depends what you want to do too. And there are some reasons why I think, sometimes maybe people do want to take a cruise by themselves. It's a great way to travel. Excuse me. And if you're thinking about vacationing on your own, taking a cruise is a great way to do it too. It really is. You can pick where you want to start. And the good thing is, with the cruise lines, they include everything too, which is great.
I think we're going to have you go get some water real quick.
Yes,
I'm going to put on one of those other commercials around education, because that's how you're getting that cold there, so we're gonna let Cindy
Yes.
go get some water, and then
Yes.
she'll be back with some more news while I put on
Yes.
the one about education and all in that space. So I know I've got that over here somewhere, so I'll put that one about the partners and the AQV partners with the students so that you can go get some water.
Thank you.
What's up, everybody? It's Trey Tipton here.
Hi, I'm William Jeffress.
Hi, my name is Lauren Wasselson.
Hi, my name is Alex Jaksic.
And we're on the American Queen boat in Pittsburgh, PA. And we're here to explore all the job opportunities on this beautiful boat. Come check it out with us.
So welcome aboard. This is the Grand Saloon. This is our main performance space on board the American Queen. We do offer a wide variety of things. We've got some very talented entertainers on board. Many of us have degrees in vocal performance or theater, and we're very fortunate to have them on board the American Queen.
Do I have any other talents? I could do poetry.
I was actually a dancer for 15 years of my life. Did ballet, jazz, hip hop, lyrical, modern, contemporary, point, like all that.
One of my hidden talents, I would say I could sing a little bit. You don't want to hear me though.
I played the saxophone for 6 years, juggle, or solve Rubik's Cube in under 40 seconds.
This is the J.W. White dining room. The big grand evening event is dinner. We have 4 courses, wine service, dessert service. We have 12 waiters on board, 8 food and beverage servers, or back waiters as we call them. I have 2 assistants who are on the floor, and we try to coordinate all the needs and wants of all of our guests.
I think it's pretty cool that you can be a chef on an amazing cruise like this and also travel the world.
You want to work in the engine room and you want to work unlicensed, you don't need any endorsement. Some maintenance background is helpful. We have 4 watch engineers and 2 firemen, 2 oilers on watch.
There's always at least 2 of us on board, what they call a front watch and a back watch. So there's a pilot that works at night as well. So 24 hours a day, there's a qualified pilot and a captain and one of the mates up here in the pilot house.
It's a very complicated job. It's very interesting though. You would never see me do it because I don't want to mess things up. But I think the one thing that I took away from this is that it's easier to drive at night, and many people wouldn't assume that, but I think that was a very, very interesting point that I took away.
Hi, Richard. How you doing?
Ahoy, Jennifer. Lovely to see you. I'm so excited we're partnering on Virgin Voyages.
Yeah, I'm really excited too, but I was thinking that maybe before we announce it, that we should decide on my official title at Virgin Voyages.
Yes, and I already have a few options for you.
Okay.
What about something catchy like, don't be fooled by the ship that I got. I'm now Jenny from the dock.
Okay.
Dame Jennifer Lopez.
Isn't there like a paperwork and like a sword involved?
Supreme Goddess of Mermaids.
You know what? Let's just tackle the title thing later. I'm just excited to share our gorgeous ships with the whole world.
Okay. Look, I'll brainstorm a little more and catch up soon on it. Mermaid in Manhattan?
That's great too. But going back to my points about maybe thinking about taking a cruise by yourself, because if you were to take a trip by yourself, then you're basically by yourself. But with a cruise ship, what's good too is there are reasons why you shouldn't think outside that you can't do it. Because once again, really taking a cruise by yourself is another great way to travel too. And I ran across some really, really fantastic insights and steps too. I've done it myself too. Something came up a long time ago. Want to take a cruise, relax, and the friend I usually travel with couldn't go, but I went, and it was a great way to kind of relax, enjoy some things too. Because once again, as far as traveling by yourself on a cruise, it's really I think an easy way to really travel. So once again, as mentioned, the ship takes you different places. And it really is an easy way to plan things too, because once again, they actually, on the cruise, you get different options as far as what you want to see, go, experience. And once again, just figure out where you want to go first. And then, of course, on what ship. Do that. And once again, if you want some suggestions to or insights, it's always good. I'm a big advocate of using a travel advisor, having worked as a travel advisor myself. But you can also, with this situation, you can travel when it's convenient for you. Okay, so think about that too, because once again, it's about you. You can pick the time that works out best for yourself or for you, even as far as maybe off-peak times of travel. And then maybe you can actually get a better rate too, which is a really, really important aspect too. Once again, with your cruising by yourself, remember, you won't be doing it all by yourself because there'll be other people on the ship too. So the big thing is think about where you want to go, places you want to see. Because once again, once you're on the ship takes you places. Something else that's important too is there is a lot of flexibility when it comes to taking a cruise, because solo cruising gives you a lot of flexibility. You can visit different places that are special you always want to see. Maybe go see a beautiful beach. You can zip line if you want through the jungle. The sky's really the limit, which is fun too. And also, once again, if you're going to a place that maybe you wouldn't feel secure or comfortable venture out on your own, you can always take a cruise line shore excursion too, which is great. And also going by yourself, it's a good way to really cross some things off on your bucket list. If you want something that's kind of isolated but beautiful, I mean, Antarctica is an amazing place. I've seen so many pictures of people shared it with me too. It really sounds fantastic. Another great experience, I did it myself, was actually experiencing the wildlife at Alaska. And once again, cruises go beyond just exploring the typical islands. You can go really anywhere in the world too. And as far as space, one thing is there are often cruise lines that have, there are some cruise lines that have actually these solo stateroom areas too. So keep that in mind. You have a cabin stateroom by yourself, which is great. And once again, if you are considered to be a digital person, a nomad, you could actually take some work to do while you're actually exploring taking this cruise yourself too. Because once again, you can work on your own things in your own stateroom too, which is great. So you can work online also when you want to get away. And then the cruise is a great alternative because once again, they do have Wi-Fi on the ships.
That's what I was going to ask, because that's actually a good question. If you are a worker and you are in the working environment, how efficient is the computer for people that want to do remote work from the ship? So is there Wi-Fi? Are there office areas like, their co-working spaces on the mainland? Are there places that you can go to get your work done if you don't want to get it done in your stateroom?
Well, that's a good question, because I know at one point too, I know that some cruise lines had some areas just for the computers to be used too. I ran across that with Crystal Cruises. But once again, too, is one thing that's come up too is cruise lines have really jumped on better Wi-Fi systems. And there's one that just came out. I think it's called Starlink. I'm not sure. I'll check the name too. But once again, years ago when I took cruises, and it was easier if you got off the ship and try to connect the computer off the ship, okay? Because the Wi-Fi within the ships was horrible. But now it's much better. It's so much faster, easy to use too. And once again, one thing too is remember that with the staterooms too, if you want to splurge and make sure you get a balcony. So you can do that too if you want to. And also, like I said, different areas, once again, you want to keep things a little bit more quiet too. But I know that sometimes cruise lines have libraries. You could actually do some things within their library areas too if you wanted to.
Yeah. How important, I live around the corner, you may not know this, but I live around the corner from a university, actually Duke University, and UNC isn't that far away. So how much are they catering to the college kids to go on a cruise? Or is that just a little bit too expensive for their taste? Or are they actually going and trying to get the cruise kids to go on a cruise as well? So I was wondering whether we're going to see some spring breaks, because we do know spring breaks start around March and April,
right,
and all of that. So are they trying to?
But Usually there's also, like I said, as far as age requirements too. I know, of course, as we mentioned, Virgin Voyages does not allow anyone under 18. Okay. Usually with cruise lines themselves, I think you might have to be 21. I'm not sure if they changed that protocol or not. Or having an escorted group, because that came up one time, a long time ago. I had a group that I booked on a cruise every year over spring break. They were teachers, but one time there were student groups on board, and it was really a little crazy, you know. But that was a long time ago too. But once again, usually there's certain kind of age groups too that they do require on board to sail, and usually it'd be like an escort group, depending. But once again, you got different choices too, and going back to, like I said, the Wi-Fi on board cruise ships is really, really phenomenal now. It's not like it used to be a long time ago. And they still have little library areas too. So actually, if you wanted to, you could take your computers in there and work on your stuff too. I did that too myself. Actually, I was on a cruise when I took that cruise back in last year. A couple years ago, I was doing a project, so I took my computer with me too, just to get some stuff done there too, depending.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense and everything. As I've said before, we know that there's all kinds of great food that goes on the cruise ship, which means if you have great food, you've also got to figure out how you're going to get rid of that great food as well. But it does seem like the cruise industry has been a lot more efficient in getting rid of the waste on the ship as well. So that is a good thing that they're doing.
It's a great topic, because I actually found some research on that too that I was going to bring up today, because once again, a couple of years ago, cruise lines started getting rid of plastic straws, single-use plastic straws. They got rid of them, okay, a couple of years ago. And that's important. And also, like I said, when you think about years ago, how to get rid of food waste, that was kind of an issue. But once again, too, is I just ran across some information. It's a great article about how food waste is actually handled in the industry, okay? And they do work on different things. I know that Carnival Corporation, for instance, had more than 600 food waste digesters installed across 9 of their company brands, which is great. And you don't think about that stuff, but they're doing that. They're being very, very proactive to do that too, which is important now.
Yeah, that's very proactive, and they're doing a great job in that proactive space, making sure that they're taking care of that, making sure that they are doing things in terms of energy efficiency, which I know you brought up a couple of times as well. So they're doing all kinds of things that are innovative in that space as well. So it does seem like they are definitely trying to be aware and conscientious about how they are handling the food waste and the different things that they are doing in that space. So have you heard anything about any other energy efficient things that they are doing as well? Because I know we brought it up on a couple of these shows about some of the energy efficient methods that they have come up with. And I was just wondering if you've heard of any new things that our listeners need to know about.
Yeah, the one thing comes up too, as I mentioned before, cruise line ships, their deadline is to actually be by 2050. Okay. And they're working on that too. But once again, a lot of cruise lines are really going over to what's called liquefied natural gas as a fuel source. And one good example is with a new cruise line starting, MSC. They've got their Explorer Journeys coming out this summer. And what they're doing is, I know that their 5th and 6th ships are going to be powered liquefied natural gas completely, which is great. So, I mean, they're really trying to work on that very, very hard.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing when they do that. And it's going to be interesting how they do things along those lines and everything. Did you say they did or did not have discounts for the seniors? Because I know in some businesses there are discounts, and what I wasn't sure if there were discounts in the shipping industry as well, where you maybe get a 5% discount if you are over 65 or something like that. And I was just wondering if that's something that we are seeing in that space or not, or is that something that will be more in other parts of the travel industry as well? But I didn't know if there were
I think other parts. But once again, one thing that people are not aware of is cruise lines usually give some kind of a discount to veterans.
Right. I did not know that. And the veterans' rights is very important. You definitely got to get those veterans on the cruises and all in that spaces. That actually raises an interesting question. It is my understanding that some people are actually going into becoming sailors and things in that space because they had that experience when they were in a branch of the Army. So I understand that some of the pilots, not necessarily Captain Kate, but some of the other pilots might actually be ship captains from like the Navy and some of our armed services. But I was wondering if you had run across some that had served in the military that are now captains of the bigger ships.
Not really, but once again, people need to really be aware of that military discount because they do that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So definitely check that because once again, they do a really, really fantastic job as far as trying to do that for veterans. So definitely if a person is looking at maybe taking a cruise, definitely if you're a veteran, check into that discount.
Yeah, definitely got to check into that discount. I got that video that I was looking for, so we're actually going to watch. Hopefully people who have not eaten too much, because we're going to watch how waste is dealt with on a cruise ship. So I actually found a video about that. So let's check it out.
Yes, great.
This cruise ship is basically a floating city, and just like in a normal city, all its residents produce a lot of trash. But there aren't any garbage trucks here to scoop it up and take it away. We're at sea, obviously. And since waste can't, and shouldn't, just be dumped in the ocean, well, what do cruise ships do with all of it? This is something the industry's been dealing with for years.
Carnival Cruise Line is coming clean about polluting oceans.
Princess Cruises was fined $40 million in 2016 for illegal dumping, and Carnival got hit with a $20 million fine in 2019 for disposing of plastic waste in the ocean.
Carnival Corporation's issues really brought the need for better technology so that these ships can operate more efficiently.
Cruise lines have been working on systems to purify water and deal with waste inside ships.
Up until now, these types of options weren't available.
All this new tech was built into Royal Caribbean's largest and newest ship, Symphony of the Seas. The company says it's a zero landfill ship, which means it uses everything from recycling to water filtration to deal with its own waste. And this guy is in charge of making sure no single water bottle is unaccounted for.
Welcome to Waste and Recycling Center.
We're down on Deck 2, a secret crew-only area of the ship. Crew members check all the ship's trash cans for recyclables and bring them down here for Alex's team to handle. Despite being the only waste facility on this massive ship, it's surprisingly quiet. Alex said the busiest time is in the morning, when things are unpackaged for the day.
This is the waste streams that we have. Every waste stream has its own way of handling it.
There are separate teams to deal with each incoming recyclable: glass, cardboard, plastic, and metal.
This is our incinerator room. So we have 2 incinerators, 1 and 2. This area is manned 24 hours a day. We have 10 crew members who are working here, 5 in the morning and 5 in the evening.
Crew members separate glass into colors: green, brown, and white.
See, this is the byproduct of it after we crush it.
They can process upwards of 13,000 pounds of glass for a week-long cruise. All the small glass pieces are stored in bins until the ship docks. Plastic goes through this massive compactor. Even though the ship's gotten rid of plastic straws, it still relies on bottled water, because for health and safety reasons, no cruise ship is allowed to have water fountains. So every week, they crush about 528 gallons of water bottles.
We are compacting the cardboard over there.
Throughout the day, cardboard is stacked up in this machine, called a baler. Once it's full, it's all compressed into bundles. And used aluminum cans, well, they're sent through this baler. The machine squeezes them down into big cubes, which are then stored in a fridge just off the waste room.
This area is actually for the items that can produce smell, the garbage.
And that smell could get pretty bad. The waste is stored for up to 7 days at a time, until the ship docks back in Miami, where all the plastic, aluminum, paper, and glass go to recycling partner facilities. In 2018, Royal Caribbean recycled 43.7 million pounds of waste. And any rebates earned from these recycling programs go back to the Employee Retirement Fund. The cruise line is hoping that it's a nice incentive for employees to bring recycling down from their own crew cabins. So what about things that can't get recycled? For example, food. Every week, the ship loads up 600,000 pounds of provisions. But for the food that's not eaten, well, the company had to figure out how to get rid of all of that, too. Each one of the ship's restaurants and 36 kitchens has its own suction drain. Chefs and waiters keep food scraps in separate buckets. Then, once they've gotten enough, they place it all in this special drain. All the food waste ends up in one big pipe that runs through the entire ship. And that pipe leads to what's known as the hydroprocessor.
Those pipes over there, so these were the food waste is passing through. This is being processed through here.
This machine has a bunch of tiny layers of mesh to break down the food.
It's being stored in our tank. We have 2 tanks of comminuted food waste.
And the final step, incineration. Now let's talk about your toilet waste. Yep, we're gonna go there. It's all part of the water treatment system on board, controlled from the engineering room.
All the wastewater that we are generating on board the ship is being collected. Nothing goes overboard unless we have run it through a treatment plant.
Water is divided into 2 categories. Gray water, from sinks, laundries, and drains, and black water. That includes everything from the galleys and your toilets, including your urine.
This is then being mixed together and run through the advanced wastewater purification plant.
The purification system purifies the water to a point above the US federal standard, which is almost safe to drink.
And then it runs several filtration processes before it's being kept on board or it's being discharged overboard when we are at sea with a certain distance from land in order to meet the different local and international regulations.
Anything that can't be recycled or reused on board goes to what's known as a waste-to-energy facility. Now, we didn't get to see it for ourselves, but Royal Caribbean said heat or gas from the waste is collected and converted to energy.
It's definitely within their best interest to be the most environmentally friendly because it significantly can reduce the waste on board, the weight that they have to carry, the fuel usage, and it reduces our operational expenses as well.
And after 1 week at sea, the recycling gets cleared out, incoming provisions are brought on board, and the crew prepares the ship to start the process all over again.
That was good because I was going to bring up some things too. As mentioned, I found some articles about that too, because once again, it goes back to, I know that some cruise lines did get sued, of course. They really
No, not only that, but Cindy, I don't know if you knew that, discovered something that I did not know that I was going to bring up as we wind down the show and everything that we're going to hear from one of the Royal Caribbean CFOs and all of that. But, you know, I try to stay out of trouble. I know you try to stay out of trouble.
Right.
And a number of other people try to stay out of trouble as well. But apparently, if you get on trouble on a cruise ship, there's a place for you. And there's a place that you don't want to go to, and all in that kind of lane. So apparently, and this is a thing that I found out as well, maybe it's a little known thing within the cruise ships, but many of the cruise ships have, guess what? A cruise ship jail. So if you've acted disorderly, they will actually put you away until you get off the ship. So let's learn about the cruise ship jail, and then we'll hear from the CFO of Carnival. But this is something that I just found out about.
Okay.
Ever wondered how cruise ships deal with disorderly and misbehaving guests? What happens when a serious crime is committed on a ship? Let's get into it. What are they like and why do they exist? There is a large number of people on a cruise ship. Members of the security team manage the jail for a variety of reasons. For obvious reasons, the cruise ship jail isn't accessible to guests and isn't usually visited on ship tours. Many people are unaware that it exists. The most serious incidents are the only incidents that the cruise ship brig can be used for. The brigs are small jails on the ships. Most guests don't see the jails because they are located in crew-only areas. The onboard jails are used to hold guests suspected of breaking the law or those who are acting recklessly. Although cruise lines have jails on board, they don't want guests to stay here for a long time. It's a last resort and cruise lines try to avoid it as much as possible. It is possible to hold a passenger in cabin arrest on a cruise ship if the passenger is not able to leave their cabin. This might happen when a guest is drunk and disorderly. There are some smaller ships that don't have brigs. What are the differences between cruise ship jails and jails on land? The jail cells are very basic. There is a bed in one corner of the room. The design of their jail cells is similar to modern jail cells. Many people think that the jail on a cruise ship is like the jail on a ship hundreds of years ago, but this isn't the case. There will be a shower, a toilet, and a bed on the cruise ship brigs. What security measures are in place? Every cruise line has a number of safety measures in place. People boarding a cruise ship have their belongings scanned. This is to make sure no banned items are present. The guest may be denied boarding if the items are found in extreme circumstances. Drugs, firearms, weapons, explosives, knives, and flammable substances are some of the items that are prohibited. A trained security team is on board each ship. In case a crime is committed on the cruise ship, all members are trained in what to do. The security team can be contacted at any time. When crimes are committed on a cruise ship, they are reported to the authorities. Why would a guest be placed in the jail of a cruise ship? There are a couple of reasons a guest may end up in the brig. If a guest commits a serious crime, they may be put in the brig. This would only happen if the crime in question was something very serious like an assault or murder. The local authorities would take over if there was a serious crime like this. Unfortunately, things like this do sometimes happen at sea. We love providing helpful videos, so subscribe, like, and hit the bell icon. Thanks for watching. As always, in this video, the topics discussed, and ideas presented are opinions and presented for entertainment purposes only. The information presented should not be construed as professional health, financial or legal advice. Always do your own due diligence.
That's interesting.
It was interesting. We're going to check out the CFO of Carnival and all in that space, because definitely the CFO is something that is always interested in a different cruise lines. And this is Royal Caribbean's CFO letting you know what they think about 2023. And then I'll let you go into the wrap up and everything. But another fascinating show with all kinds of fascinating information. But let's check out this particular word from the CFO of Royal Caribbean.
We're seeing very high demand, very robust pricing, and people just really engaged and wanting to consume those vacations and seek those with us. We're continuing to close the gap to our revenue in 2019, and we're really excited about what's ahead for 2023. It's a combination of people just shifting their preferences for purchasing things to seeking experiences. We are getting back to our normalized occupancy levels at higher prices. So that obviously carries through to the revenue line. And we have more ships in the water, so we can offer better vacations. They're newer ships. We have significantly more activities on board. In the same time, we are very actively managing costs in what is a very challenging operating environment. So the combination of us growing our yields, growing our revenue, and controlling costs get us to a place where we're continuing to grow and increase our earnings.
Yep.
As I mentioned too, I think really people now are more, they want experiences. They want to buy things. They want experiences and see the world. And there's so many different options out there now too, more than ever. Mm-hmm. Something I brought up before, because once again, they call it wave season right now. This is the busiest time to actually book cruises. And I just had a text message conversation with a friend of mine. He works for River Cruise Line, Senior Vice President Sales. He says, Cindy, we've been so busy. It's unbelievable. You know, our sales are going off the roof, which is great because once again, I think people are really wanting to just have experiences now rather than what we went through 9/11. You know, have experiences and memories of those lifetime, because that's really what I love too. It just, you know, think about places you've been to before, beautiful places, and you want to go back, but experience things, meet people. You know, as I mentioned, one of the most fantastic people I met a long time ago was actually, he was a taxi driver that I met, that I used. Friends of mine found him, and he was actually a former policeman in Ocho Rios. He started his own taxi service business, but he took us beautiful places, and he's the one that actually took us to Mick Jagger's house.
Oh, wow.
Yes. But I used to use him. I recommend him to my clients whenever they went there. But just, it was really fun to be able to have a trusted taxi driver like that. You trusted, you got to know him. And he knew people too, which is great too. So, but things like that, I think that's important as far as travel more than ever. And things are busy, but that's good because that's a positive sign that things are coming back and people want experiences. And you've got so many options out there now more than ever before. So
yeah,
think
definitely. Looks like things are definitely coming back and all in that space. Yes. So definitely, I think we may go out, if I can get it up, with one of the family ads from Carnival Cruises. That's what Carnival Cruises got one that talks about all the fun that the family can have together and all in that space. So I think I'll try to get that one up next, and then that'll get us on out of here for another amazing episode of great conversation and great shows and all in that way. But this is one of their newer commercials that lets you know that the family can sometimes come together, hang out together, and just have a good time together as well. So we'll try to get that one up right now, and I think folks will enjoy this one and see how much fun that you can have in that space as well. So if that's all right with you, Cindy, we're going to have one of our cruises and all of their fun as we get ready to get on out of here. So I think the Carnival Cruise one will get us out of here, unless there's another one that you want to, or some comments that you want to make before we do Carnival Cruises. Otherwise, we'll use this one to get us on out of here on this particular edition of Good Ship Happens. Because like he says, there's always good things happening on the cruise industry. So
they really do. Real quick, one thing you mentioned about my next cruise, and I'm not really taking a cruise yet, but I got invited to be on the MSC Meraviglia. They're bringing her to New York. And they fly me to New York, and I'll be able to see the ship for like 2.5 days. I won't be seeing the ship because she's coming in, but they're putting me in a hotel. They're flying us down to New York, put us in a hotel, but we'll be on board the ship for all kinds of different things, dinners and things too. And I just got my airfare lined up there, paying for my airfare, which is really exciting. So I'm just excited to see that ship because she's going to be sailing out of New York City year round, which is great.
Sounds good. So let's check out about Carnival, and we'll be hearing about Cindy's trip as it gets closer and closer and in more details. And of course, we'll hear about it after she returns from that trip. But right now, to get us on out of here, let's hear what Carnival's got to say about family fun.
Okay.
Everyone in my family went on a Carnival cruise. Maggie didn't come though because she's a dog. Mom did things I've never seen her do. Dad was himself, and I met this girl who was pretty cool, I guess. You're my best friend! Then I saw a bird. Hi.
Cool bird.
And Dad told us to put on sunscreen, and we had the best time together. Please don't tell my parents I said that.